I promise I will update that intro one of these days to say something other than pregame live because I'm not talking about the only hockey game that's being played tonight. So this stream was not initially planned. I did want to talk about some stuff that's kind of pertinent to the Hurricanes right now, and I had a few minutes to be able to talk about it. Additionally, Sam Driscoll from the Caniac Report will be joining us here in a little bit as well, and we're going to do a longer show on Thursday with him. Not with him, excuse me, with the other Sam Wallace. AB might make it, and Griff says he can probably make it Thursday night, where we're going to talk about this stuff a little bit more extensively. But the biggest thing I want to cover with this show is that Philip Hronek has signed an extension with the Vancouver Canucks, and there's two big things that comes from this for the Hurricanes. One, all the idiotic rumors about Carolina trading for him and all the ridiculous mock trade packages. Here he is. Let me bring him in. And there we go. I like that view. Everyone, welcome Sam Driscoll back to the show.
Thanks for having me, even though you're planning a bash Sam Thursday.
Yeah, but at least it's going to be public. You'll have a chance to defend yourself. It'll have to be retroactively. Are you going to Disneyland again?
No, actually, I'm coming up to your neck of the woods, Williamsburg.
Oh, for real? I love it there. Yeah, that's a great place. BG Edits, good to see you, buddy. This guy does the coolest graphic work I have ever seen in my life by far. He got me a couple of things. I'm going to show them to you in a little bit, or not in a little bit, but when they're done. I'm getting some of the 3D decals made for my hockey helmets, and he gave me the images for them for the channel logo and everything like that. So they'll look really good on there. And then we also have Thayer Kreft. Good to see you. It's been a minute. Yeah, buddy. We haven't seen you in a little while either. So there's three big topics here that we're going to have. There's going to be, because like I said, I don't even have anything loaded up for like the chyrons here and everything like that. So first things first, we'll talk about the biggest thing right here. The Phil Hronek contract is a 8-year average annual value of 7.25, I believe it was. Let me double check that. Yeah, 7.25 million average annual value. I personally believe this spells the end of Brady Skjei in Carolina. I think that it was kind of getting that way anyway, but I think that this is it.
I mean, I give Skjei the money.
Mm-hmm.
I think I go up to about 7.5, 8 with Skjei, just because he's going to be one of your best defensemen. Mm-hmm. You're going to value him there. I think the problem Carolina is going to have is they're not going to want to pay him more than Slavin.
Right.
And I think Slavin might get that number. I think whatever Slavin's getting is going to be very team friendly, very team friendly. So I'm looking forward to seeing that number. But I don't know if they're going to feel comfortable paying anyone more than Slavin, which I think could be a problem on the blue line. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you have to think Nikishin's coming in not this year, but end of this year, beginning of next year. Mm-hmm. You're going to replace Skjei's value with that would be my belief is what they're thinking. You're replacing Pesci with Chatfield, and Morrow replaces Tony. My guess is that's the belief that the front office has, which would be why Skjei doesn't come back. But I still would give Skjei the contract just because he's been part of the core.
Yeah,
I would say more so than Pesci the last couple of years.
I remember when I was coming back from the last time I was down there, like when I crashed with you and everything, that episode of 32 Thoughts the next morning, Elliot Friedman said one of the options, speaking of, I can see Penny's tail back there. I just barely saw like that much of it. One of the options Elliot Friedman said, and I thought that this was a great idea, was giving Skjei basically the same contract they gave Orlov. I was totally fine with that because that would bridge the gap until you know exactly what you're getting with Morrow, and it would also buy another year until Nikishin gets here. So, me personally, that's what I would do. I'm not comfortable with giving Skjei a ton of term. I am comfortable with giving him that amount of money, though. Like, if we matched what they gave Hronek, I'd be okay with that. I just wouldn't want to do it for longer than maybe 4 or 5 seasons.
Would you do if you could move Orlov and give Skjei like a 2x9, would you do it?
That's actually really tempting because at that point it's only a $2 million-ish increase on the cap if you do, or hell, less than that. I'm reluctant to move Orlov because I feel like that I feel like he's a good fit now. I really do. I know that contract is kind of cumbersome and everything, but once he found his stride, he started doing really well with the team. That's my only reluctance with moving Orlov in a situation like that.
You don't move Orlov unless the deal with Skjei's done.
Right.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
You'd have to have Skjei agree.
Yeah. And I can see the appeal of that as well because Skjei is an all situations defenseman. Other than Burns, he's the only true all situation defenseman we have. Yes, Slavin has quarterbacked the power play before, but he's not remotely, I won't say remotely, but he's not as good at it as Burns when he's playing up to his standard. He's not as good at it as Skjei. He's not as good at it as Tony. And Pesce, he's got the skating ability and the edge work to do it, but he doesn't have the shot velocity or the passing velocity to quarterback a power play. Whereas Tony has the vision, Skjei has the vision. They both have the skating ability and everything. Slavin has the skating ability and the vision, but he doesn't shoot the puck a whole lot. If you give up Skjei, you give up the one true, honest-to-God, all-situations defenseman you have. If you do sign him and move Orlov out, there's only one other big danger with that. It might off-put other UFAs in the future, but I do understand it's also a business. That would be my only reluctance with it. Now, I like both those guys. I like both of them a lot. And let me make it abundantly clear, I got nothing against either one of them. But if you give me a choice between Brady Skjei and Dmitry Orlov, I'm taking Brady Skjei.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what you have to do. Skjei's the better of the two.
Mm-hmm.
Skjei had a freaking outstanding season.
Mm-hmm.
So dude deserves to get paid. I'm not going to begrudge him a pay bump because he's earned it.
Yeah.
The only concern where you're going to have then is if you look at the roster, it's Orlov, Chatfield, Slavin, Burns. You still need a second quarterback for the power play because Orlov's offense wasn't great this year, and Chatfield's offense isn't what you want for a second quarterback, and Slavin shouldn't do it because that's just not his mindset. So you still need a quarterback. So at that point, is it Morrow? You bring him back Tony. Like, my expectation is July 1st, Tony DeAngelo is going to hit free agency. He's not going to get what he wants, and Carolina's going to say, hey, just so you know, this offer's here if you want it.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it's like, do I go somewhere for less, or do I come here and Carolina's going to pay me something decent?
Well, see, here's one thing I've thought with Tony. And I know I've said this before, but I want to reiterate it considering the situation that we're going to be in the offseason. If you took our defense from last season, all 7 of them, and said one of them needs to play forward right now and learn on the fly, there's only 2 of them there that I would say, and one of them, I'll add a third one if he was a few years younger. Tony DeAngelo, Brady Skjei, and Brent Burns, even though, Brent Burns was drafted as a forward, we already knew all that. But if I had to pick somebody out of our previous blue line, and honestly, maybe even ever, other than Yoni Pikkinen and Noah Hannafin, of you, jump up front now, and I know Matt Tennyson did it too, but say, hey, you learn to play wing, Tony DeAngelo is the first guy that I'm taking, and like saying, just have him play wing in the bottom 6. He'll produce a lot of points. He'll generate a lot of chances and everything like that. Then you can still have him to quarterback the power play. And if somebody on the blue line gets hurt, you've got someone who's more qualified than just anybody you could find off the street to jump back there. And for all the shit that people wanted to give Tony, if you're truly that bad at defense, they would have to shuffle the entire defense, realign it entirely to accommodate him. They didn't have to do that. If Burns comes out, he goes with Slavin. Done deal. Pesce came out. He went in, took his spot, did fine. The only way that they would have to shuffle stuff up a whole lot is like when Chatfield was out the last time, they had to switch up the bottom 4. So that's why if it were up to me, I'd just be like, hey, look, you spend half your time LARPing as a forward anyway. Let's just make the most of that. You've got the skating ability to do it. And then if we need you on the blue line, we put you there. Problem solved. Then you can sign whoever the hell you want. Pesce, Skjei, it doesn't matter.
I mean, I have no problem with that, especially because right now it sounds like the group isn't going to prioritize Jarvis, and I think that's fair because he's an RFA. You could punt that even a couple months down the road if you really wanted to. I think it gets done before that, but he's an RFA. You qualify him. To get him, someone's going to have to offer some ridiculous offer sheet.
More than what they offered Aho.
Yeah, so it's going to be like a $9 million deal offer sheet. And then at that point, it's hard to look at that and say, oh, do I want to turn down 4 first-round draft picks for anybody? That's hard to say no to. It doesn't matter. So no one will do that. So you have plenty of time to deal with Jarvis. But the reality is we have so many forwards that are just not going to be here. And a lot of offense is not going to be here with Tara Vinen and Jake Gensel. who's and Natchez, who is looking all likely that all three of those guys aren't going to be on this roster next year. And that's I've articulated, I think, 70, 80 goals that won't be on this roster next year. It's a lot. That is a lot of goals.
That is a lot
that you have to find a way to replace. So I think Tony could help that. I mean, getting him on the fourth line wing just to start and say, hey, just to see what happens.
Yeah.
And I think if you have 3 scoring lines, it makes a lot of sense.
And see, what's funny about this, Eric Brandstrom that plays for the Senators, at one point during the season, he did that because he's normally a defenseman. And they had him
we had a guy who did that recently. He plays with the Devils or played with the Devils, I think, last.
I'm not sure.
Smith?
Brendan Smith. Yeah, he's played forward and defense both. Yeah. And, it's like that him adapting to playing forward saved his career, and then eventually he got back to playing defense full time. So it's like Tony's one of those guys that I think absolutely could do that. I understand that he's a traffic cone at time on the blue lines, but he's way too good of a player to waste, in my opinion. So if you sign him as insurance on the back end, but say, hey, you will play, but you'll probably play forward, I don't really think that would be a problem. And I think that if he plays forward, I think he's maybe a 50, 55 point player in addition to, or including what he would do quarterbacking the power play. So I think that would be a good way to go about it. But as far as replacing more of the offense that's on the way out, we're definitely running out of options there if we don't get Lindholm in free agency. It looks like he's going to hit the market. He's not interested in signing with the Canucks.
I think he wants to come back to the U.S.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
That's what Hannafin wanted. He wanted to come to the U.S. So it's just, I mean, taxes are better here. We kind of talked about that in the group chat. But when our friends over at Caniac Sessions criticize me for wanting Skinner, I mean, my only argument to them is, well, I'm trying to find offense. We're losing 80 goals. Like, where am I going to find my offense? And really, when a name becomes available that's not Jake Gensel, Marty Natchez, or Teuvo Teravainen, you have to at least look at it. Do I think he comes back? No, it's not feasible. I don't think him and Rod were overly close, from my understanding at least. But maybe that's wrong. I don't know. Skinner seemed to love it here.
Well, I'm glad that you...
Go ahead.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was actually going to be my next topic after talking about the Hronek contract and everything like that. So here's where I had to disagree with Griff a little bit. And I'll have to go back and find the numbers, but I specifically remember this. This was before the end of the playoff drought. I remember seeing it in a Reddit post going, wow, that doesn't make sense, but at the same time, it makes perfect sense. At one point, Jeff Skinner led the entire NHL in takeaways, and it was an even bigger margin in offensive zone takeaways. Jeff Skinner is not a liability in all 3 zones. I can't pretend that he is. Now, does he have his defensive issues? Yes, but every player has some sort of deficiency. But as far as regaining possession in the offensive zone, he was actually really damn good at that. His skating ability, he sneaks up on you. He does that little 10-2 Mohawk turn. He gets the stick in there, and he kind of pushes you off the puck, and he's gone with it before you know. He had some takeaways at times that were very Pavel Datsyuk-like with how he executed them. So while he did have his problems, offensive zone forechecking was not one of them. He didn't do it. He didn't lay the body on people to get it done, but he did get it done.
Look, Jeff Skinner was the most pure goal scorer we've had since Alexander Semin. And the one that came after Jeff Skinner was Jake Gensel. So, I mean, we haven't had a pure goal scorer since, other than Jake. And that was only for, 20 games? Less than that, I think, maybe. Right around that number.
Yeah, because he didn't play immediately. He was coming off LTIR when we traded for him.
So it's like, okay. I mean, I think Skinner fetches $5-6 million, and he's older, so he's not going to get long term. We're in a position where we do have cap space to leverage, because right now we still haven't used a whole heck of a lot of it. You move KK. I mean, yes, you need to prioritize a second line center. That needs to happen. But if it's not that, I mean, again, it's what we talked about last time. What's available? All right, Elias Lindholm. All right, what's after that? John Tavares. All right, what's after that? I don't know.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Patrick Laine, or Jeff Skinner? With money not being factor, injury factor, or history not being factor, you'd rather have Line. You'd rather have Skinner. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Skinner's been healthy for more of his career. He had some with us. He had some concussion
issues. Yeah. Well, I mean,
but for the most part, he's been playing well in Buffalo. I mean, 2 seasons, not this last year, but the year before. I'm just pulling up the stats because I had it up recently.
The hits that he got hurt really bad on, though,
were dirty hits.
They were bad. Like the Brooks Orpik one was bad. The Matt Niskanen one was bad. Like Matt Niskanen shouldn't have left the ice upright that night that he did that shit that he did. So
he's been with Buffalo for 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah,
5,
since we
years.
started making the playoffs again.
And he's only in 2019-20, he only played 59 games. 2021, he played 53. But since then, he's played 80, 79, 74, and has had 63 points, 82 points, 46 points.
Okay, what's he looking like in the goal scoring?
20 goals.
Okay, see, that's
goals,
the biggest thing.
35 goals, 24 goals. Even in the year, his worst year this year, he still had over 20.
Okay, see, that's the biggest thing I concern myself with someone like Jeff Skinner. I can care less how much he distributes the puck. I want him to shoot. Same thing for Line. You know, it's like, you know, me and my dad were talking about, you know, the idea of Line the other day. Line falls into that category that I think that, okay, so first off, he's only got 2 years left on his deal at $8.7 million. There's going to have to be some salary retention there if I take Line. That's the only way that's going to happen. Now, I don't see Skinner getting traded back to Carolina. I could see him getting bought out and then Carolina signing him on a very short term, like a 1-year deal. And I don't even know what the money would remotely look like for something like that. I don't know. I can't even give you a good ballpark on that. Now, they say absence makes the heart grow fonder. I thought I was pissed off about the Skinner trade when it happened. As time moved on, I think that I warmed up to him not being here. At the same time, when I'm looking at the position that we're in now, where we're having, as you're talking about, the offense getting subtracted, it's got to come from somewhere. Yeah, sure, you can sign Tony, but Tony is at the most going to get you maybe 55 points at the most if he plays every game. That's not enough. Svechnikov, I think, is going to produce more because he's actually training to play hockey next season, not rehabbing. So I think that his production is going to go up. So you got a little bit of in-house. Jarvis will take another step in addition to being healthy, and I think that he will score even more because this is only going to be his 4th year in the league, right? So he's hitting that stride right now where we're really going to see what he is. Seth Jarvis might be a 40-goal scorer, and we just don't know it yet. So a lot of the production is going to be solved internally. But if we lose Gensel and Natchez, some of that production's got to start getting replaced, or we will be lucky to have a late second-round exit. I do agree with you on that.
And then there's I don't even know about second-round exit. I think depending on who your first-round matchup is with the current system, you could get screwed.
Yeah.
If you get caught up with the Rangers again and your roster looks like that, it will be a sweep. Mm-hmm. Especially if you don't address the goaltending, which is another issue in general. But, I mean, and then just think if they move Kuznetsov, that's another 20 goals. Probably. I could see him easily pop 20 next year. So if it's Kuznetsov gone, Jake gone, Natchez gone, Teuvo gone, it's 100 goals. I mean, easily amongst those guys, I think that's 100. At least very, very close.
I think that if we lose, like, all the forwards you just mentioned, I think Teuvo's going to stay. Because I think that it's more of an odd man out thing at that point with him, as opposed to them not wanting him here, because he's a good fit here. If there's room for him, I think that he'll stay. And we already know Aho will be like, yes, I would like for him to be here. So the only problem with that is we have pretty much a 1-for-1 younger replacement of him waiting.
Yeah, Felix Unger-Sorum has been compared to Teravainen.
He is him. Like, the only differences are he's right-handed, or he shoots right-handed, and he's Swedish instead of Finnish. But, like, because I've got some stuff clipped from where I'm working on a video of him that's not going to be nearly as long as a bunch of my other ones. It'll only be like 8 minutes because it's all stuff from the World Junior Championship. But this guy, he's literally Teravainen again. He is that exact player. Now, granted, players like that don't just come out of nowhere. If we lost all of our other pending UFA forwards, I'm not opposed to keeping Teravainen. I'm really not. I mean, he's got a good defensive stick. He's good at disrupting transition. He forechecks well, and he distributes the puck. And when he wants to, he's got a hell of a shot.
The question I've always wondered this last year about Teuvo is, does he want to be here? For some reason, I've just gotten that vibe that I don't know if he wants to be here anymore. Maybe that's just his personality, and I think that's definitely possible.
I think it's his personality.
But you got to question whether he wants to be here still as well. And I think that's a fair question too. I think it's a fair question for a lot of these guys. Is you've had 6 years of none. You haven't even won a game in the Eastern Conference Finals. Are you like, okay, 5 of those years we didn't go for it. You didn't try to go for it. You didn't make us better. This last year, okay, 1 year you made us better. That's out of the norm. Maybe I'll go somewhere else with a management style that's maybe more like a Tampa, where it's like, we've got a shot. Let's do this. Like, we're going to go all in and buy into this group because we believe in this group. Like Vancouver did it. I think they got unlucky with Thatcher Demko going down. I think if Demko doesn't go down, maybe we're talking about something different.
Right.
Because Edmonton, I don't know what happened to Dallas. I think the offense must have just dried up and their penalty kill was trash. But, I mean, you're seeing now they're going up against a team like Florida, and Edmonton's just woozy. And they haven't been able to do. They had one good game. And what was amazing, when you see a team get destroyed like that, they seem rattled. Florida did not seem rattled. But these are teams that go all in, and some of these guys are like, okay, well, maybe I'm going to go somewhere that's willing to go all in.
No, I agree with you on that and everything. It's I think Teravainen's personality does play a large part in that, because he's just blank and stoic, and it looks like that he just. I don't think he likes talking to anybody. It's just who he is. So I don't know. I am kind of worried about the offense not getting replaced, because we don't have enough of it to begin with, clearly. But I'm not sure Jeff Skinner is the answer. But to your point, if not him, what is? We're running out of options. There was another name's been linked, Andrew Mangiapane. I think that would help a little bit, but $5.8 million for him, which is what I believe his cap hit is, that's a little rich for my taste for him. That would go ahead.
I mean, yeah, there's just some. This free agency pool isn't all that good.
It's worse than last year.
Yeah, and we got the best guy last year, and I don't think that's going to happen this year.
We got 2 of the best guys last year.
Yeah,
we got Bunting too.
We did well. Like, this was a lot rare. I mean, this team does a lot through trades, but even then, it's like, okay, well, who's on the market? Who's available? Who can come in? Who wants to come in? Who has no trade clause and wants to come here? Again, it's just what's available, and it's so hard to find. I mean, if Buffalo's like, they're just trying to get some cap relief, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll take advantage of that. I'll take Skinner. You retain 40% of that contract. You're getting yourself a decent chunk of change in cap space, and we'll take the rest of the contract for the next, I don't know how long he's signed, another 3 years, I think. Something like that, 2-3 years. It's nothing crazy. I know that. I don't know the terms. I mean, I'll look it up too. But if not Jeff Skinner, okay, well, then Jake Gensel. Why aren't we willing to pay Jake Gensel? Okay, well, not Jake Gensel. All right, well, what about Lindholm? Why aren't we willing to pay Lindholm? It's like, okay, well, we got to pay one of these guys. We got to give one of these guys money to stay, because it's also their livelihood.
Right. And a lot of them, once they're done playing, that's it. Not every single one of them goes to work in the front office, or goes into scouting, or goes to be a commentator, or start the next Spitting Chicklets or anything like that. So that's why I understand why these guys especially like the contracts that, in particular, Skjei, Pesce, Gensel, for example, the contracts they're signing now basically are the biggest ones that they're going to sign at the most critical points in their respective careers. So here's
and Jeff Skinner, by the way, 3 years left. It'll be this year, this coming year, next year, and the year after at 9. So even if you take off, you take half. You retain half, which is the max that they could do. You're giving them $4.5 million. You're getting Jeff Skinner at $4.5 million. I don't know why you don't. And if you have to give up a little bit more just to replace some of that offense, do it.
Yeah. And, maybe get a third team involved if you need to maybe make the money work a little bit better. There's ways to do it. The one other thing that I have to give Jeff Skinner credit for, or not necessarily credit for, but I have to not put blame on him. I think that Bill Peters utilized him very, very poorly, because there were times where I'm kind of like, why the hell is he deploying him like this? The entire team, I remember, I think they were playing against Pittsburgh one night, and the whole fucking team had a meltdown and just got absolutely killed. I think it was like 8-3 when it was over. The only guy who got benched throughout the third period was Jeff Skinner. I'm like, yo, the whole fucking team is playing bad. Why is he the only one benched? Peters clearly had it out for him, not to mention the times where he would stay and talk to him after practice, clearly on the ice where the media was there and could see everything happening. And this was way before they had Invisalign Arena, so it was all either PNC or I believe it was RCI that they used to practice at before that. And it's like, I just feel like that they kind of ruined his relationship with the organization preemptively. It would be the funniest thing ever, though, if Lindholm and Skinner ended up back on this team. I would laugh, regardless of how I would feel about either one of those players being back. I would laugh myself to death over it. I'm not 110% opposed to Skinner coming back, but me personally, I don't know. I understand that, like, we've committed to Rod. We've committed to this type of system. We've committed to Tulsky now, which is going to be the next topic. I mean, if he's a good fit, I say go for it. If him and Brendan Moore can have a good relationship, I say go for it. But I have my reluctancies with it as well. And you would be more intent on signing him than I would if you or I ran the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, but Jeff Skinner, I'm not saying Jeff Skinner's my first choice.
I'm listening, by the way. I'm just grabbing something to drink.
I'm just trying to find out where like this offense is going to come from, and it's not been an easy decision. And one of the things I was curious about was like Jeff Skinner and how he played from my recollection, and I don't have it on hand.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted, and one of the things that was just talked about was Jeff Skinner's playoffs. When it came to the playoffs, another gear switched on.
Mm-hmm.
So just imagine Jeff Skinner in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get 20, 30 goals out of him. Awesome. You need to find those 30 goals. And I think here he gets at least 30 because he's going to be on the power play. He's going to be on your first unit. He's going to probably play with Aho's, be Aho, Skinner, and Jarvis, or Aho, Svetch, and Skinner. Or, you throw Skinner on the second line. Or if you get Lindholm, Skinner, and whoever you want on the other wing, Svetch.
So, like, one good thing if you had Skinner with Jarvis and Aho, for example, both those guys are super defensively competent. And I'm not saying it necessarily has to be Jeff Skinner in that situation, but if you had a high-risk, high-reward, offensively minded winger, or if you wanted to look to the future, someone like Nadeau, if you put someone like them there, then they could produce, and they have someone to cover for them playing that high-risk, high-reward game where they're always trying to find open ice. Because a lot of the things that people may have gotten annoyed about with Jeff Skinner, Bradley Nadeau has a lot of the same elements to his game. He is very offensively minded. He loves to take that first early step to find open ice, get the puck, and be gone.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a problem. Again, that's just where I think front office and Rod need to stop. They just need to stop and look at it and say, you know what? A lot of these teams that win Stanley Cups have a guy on their roster who doesn't give a damn about playing defense and the defensive zone. They want to go and they want to score the puck. When I think of Nikita Kucherov, I do not think of a guy who plays defense. Think of a guy who goes and scores. That is his job. That is why he's there. He's there to score, and that's all. And what do you think about Alexander Ovechkin? We'll use him. He's a perfect example of a guy who doesn't play defense, who's won a Stanley Cup and knows how to put the puck in the back of the net. Love him or hate him, and I hate the man. Dude knows how to score goals. You just need to understand that it's okay to have a guy on your team who doesn't necessarily play defense the best. You don't want to play in the defensive zone. I'd rather have a guy who's so skilled with the puck, and Jeff Skinner is an elite stick handler. He's an elite skater, and he's got a great shot. And if you put all of that with Carolina's Aho and and Jarvis, I mean, just imagine those great passes from Aho. You're going to pass it to a guy, one, who can handle the puck. And he's gonna score more often than he's not. I wouldn't shock me if Skinner popped 40 with this roster because
he came close on a worse one.
Yeah,
the season before we traded him, he had 37. I'm going to be interested to hear Griff's thoughts on Thursday, but like I do see where both of you are coming from. It's I don't know. It's like, I understand what he's saying about maybe Skinner, since he wasn't a good fit under Rod the last time, it might not work out this time. But
Well,
also
he
at
never
the
played
same
with
time,
Rod. He never
no, he
played
did.
with Rod.
No, he didn't. But that's part of the reason they traded him, though, was they thought that he wouldn't fit. And that's where I'm kind of like, I see where you're coming from. However, with the numbers aspect of offense out, offense has to come back in, or we're not going to win.
No, and then I'll give praise to Rod's system because I criticize him a lot too. But again, to be fair, with his system, he'll still take this team to the playoffs because we choke the life out of the other team. But you'll never win a Stanley Cup if you don't adjust a little bit and you don't have that game changer. I love Aho. He's not a game changer. He's not. Most Stanley Cup teams, he's probably your second line center, not necessarily your first line center. And I think Lindholm allows you to have a 1A, 1B situation with first line, second line, right? Because I think they're both equivalent to that first, second line center. And if you've got two high-end second line centers, or again, it depends on what your view of Aho is. I think a lot of playoff teams, he is a second line center, but a lot of teams, he's a first line center. So you got your Aho, got your Lindholm. So you pick some offense up, Lindholm. You're not signing Jake. Well, you still have Jake out, Nature's out, maybe Tavo out. You bring in Jeff Skinner. Jeff Skinner kind of replaces the Nature's points or the Nature's goals for sure. Maybe even the Tavo goals. So you might combine there because Nature's is 20, Tavo's 20. Skinner could pop 40. So you replace those two with Skinner.
Ehlers replaces a lot if you get him from Winnipeg.
Yeah, Ehlers or Line A. There are some people available that might not fit the system. But
Ehlers would fit it perfectly, and he'd produce.
Oh, then I mean, Ehlers makes sense. I'm not saying it has to be Skinner. Never said it has to be Skinner. I'm saying you have to replace the offense. And if it's not Jake Gensel, if it's not Patrick Laine, if it's not Marty Necas, if it's not Teuvo Teravainen, it's not Ehlers, well, you're starting to run low on options. You got to start looking at guys who maybe have produced in the past with bad contracts. Okay, well, now we're talking about Jeff Skinner. We're talking about the John Tavarises, right? You're talking about these guys whose contracts aren't lovely, but they have an ability that maybe a change of scenery just really helps them thrive. And it's not like Skinner would be unfamiliar with Rod Brind'Amour. He was the assistant coach. Again, I really don't know what their dynamic was or was not. He just didn't stay. And I think a lot of it had to do with Skinner felt like he should be the captain. Fair feeling, by the way, from Jeff Skinner. I don't have any problem with that feeling. He had been part of the leadership throughout his whole tenure of not making the playoffs to want to be the captain. And it was thought that when Stahl left, it was going to be Jeff Skinner. So that thought was fair on his part. And to not get it is upsetting. So, yeah, that's frustrating. But again, it just goes to what Rod prefers. He prefers the Jordan Stahls to Jordan Martinuks over the Jeff Skinners and Jake Gensels. Take that as you will. I'm not saying it's bad, not saying it's good. My preferred style of play is the Peter Laviolette version of hockey. But I just, at times, I can't wait for the Rod Brind'Amour era to be over just because I think with this roster, it's going to be even more dynamic when he's gone than – if you take this roster and you give it to Peter Laviolette, you're talking about Aho's probably got 40-plus goals on a regular. Necas probably has 70, 80, 90 points this season. Jarvis probably something. I mean, the way he plays and the roster you have, Peter Laviolette would – I mean, I'm just saying, this team's in the Stanley Cup final if Laviolette's the head coach, just because that's what he does in those early years of a roster. But what Rod's going to get out of this roster, because right now it doesn't look like it's going to be more bare bones than it's going to be this year. It was this last year. He'll get you to the playoffs. Rod's a great coach. He gets the most out of what little he's given. Did it in 2019. This year, I think it's going to be kind of similar to that year. We're going to probably have a similar roster. You just got to replace the offense. Skinner's an option. Not saying that's the right choice, but you can't just balk and say no and then say, oh, well, we're not getting Gensel. We're not going to keep Necas. We're not going to keep Teuvo. And then my question to you again is, where is the offense going to come from? You're not going to win games 1-0 all the time, not with Kochetkov and Anderson in it, because Anderson fell apart in the playoffs. And I still don't know if Kochetkov's going to be the guy. So you got to score because you got to win some games 5-4.
If Kochetkov is going to be the guy, we need to find out like now. that can't wait anymore.
No, needs. If it's those two, Anderson has to be the backup. Kochetkov has to be the starter. And if you choose to not do that, then you got to move Anderson and go get a guy who can. It reminds me a lot of Alex Nedeljkovic, because Nedeljkovic had a chance to play every game. When Mrazek got healthy, Ned out, Mrazek in. It happened here. They gave Kochetkov a shot. Well, they didn't play him again, even though I thought he was very good, because they felt, to what it sounded like, they felt that last goal he should have had. And I'm like, you're high if you think you should have stopped that. That was an elite tip from an elite hockey player. I'm not mad at it, and I thought he played excellent in that
Patrick
game.
Waugh wouldn't have stopped that. The Panarin tip? Yeah, nobody was stopping that. That was just fucking cold-blooded on his part. You can't do anything about that. Nobody stops that. If you stop that, you got lucky. There is no skill does not stop that puck. Luck and size, that's it. But yeah, we'll get to some of the comments here, and then I'm sure that'll expound on our conversations. But yeah, it's just the biggest reason. And like I said, I'll say the same thing on Thursday when we're with the other Sam and Caniac sessions, with the Bash the Sam session, as we'll call it, even though that's not actually what we're going to do. But it's like Jeff Skinner, I feel like he didn't get credit where it was due in places other than being able to score goals. There was a little bit more to his game. He was a good distributor. He's a good possession player, and he was a good offensive zone forechecker. And I think a lot of people overlook that. And I know that there's kind of an up and down thing with, him scoring goals. Like one season he has 37, and he goes the next one and he has 26.
Oilers are up 1-0, by the way.
Oh, they are? Yeah, I don't have it on right now because I'm
going to turn the light on real quick. I'm going to step aside.
Go ahead. Yeah, I'll start going through some of the comments. All righty. BG, good to see you, buddy. Good to talk some puck again, bro. Absolutely. And I feel like we're gonna have a pretty busy off season to talk about stuff. This off season is actually gonna have a lot of interesting things to talk about. So Matthew Powell said in the group chat that we have on X that he wants to see some stuff about the prospects. One thing I will direct you to, Matthew, if you're watching the stream, and that I'll also put it out in the group chat as well. Sam Wallace will be talking about prospects and stuff on the next episode of the Caniac Report. I heard that when I was listening to y'all's show yesterday morning when I was on the way home from work. So that's one thing that you guys can go look at. Additionally, I'll be making a video about the draft that I will try to release a couple of days before the draft, but I'm just really busy with stuff. Thayer Kreft, glad to make it on one of these live again. Absolutely good to have you back. I'm also getting kind of nervous. No one seems to think we need to acquire a goaltender this offseason. Like we were just talking about, and this is just my personal opinion of it. So Sam actually played goalie. I play defense. AB also plays goalie and floorball, which is way harder than it looks. Me not knowing a whole hell of a lot about goalies, my opinion is the same it was 5 minutes ago or however long it was. I think this is the year you need to start finding out what you get with Kochetkov. If Kochetkov is not producing the results you need, then you look at getting another goalie. But for the first 25 games or so, I mean, we had a bad start last time, still made the playoffs and finished third overall in the league. I think that the first 20 games or so, Kochetkov needs to start 13 of them. You need to see what you have with him. Because if you don't find it out now, how much longer are you going to wait? He'll be extension eligible at the end of next season. It's time to find out what you're getting with him.
I've heard some rumors as well, or I wouldn't say rumor. Adam Gold, I believe, as you mentioned it. I could be wrong. But one of the thoughts was, okay, maybe not. Maybe you're looking right team, wrong goalie. Mm-hmm. So not Saros. Why not Askarov? So if you're giving up Natchez, maybe Askarov's the guy you want in return. He's younger. He's a solid goalie. He was picked just before. Oh, was that the draft we got Jarvis? No, I don't think so.
I can't remember which one they got him, but I'm surprised that he would even remotely get moved because he is like the goalie prospect right now. Like he's number one.
So, but if they extend Saros to like a long-term deal that's high dollar, then at that point that bumps Askarov back.
Yeah, because he's not going to be a backup. He's too good.
So would you rather come to a 1A, 1B situation where he's playing 40 games and Kochetkov's playing 40 games? Or kind of that split. And both goalies getting a lot of games, you're staying refreshed, and you get to the playoffs, you kind of do the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. You have one guy play the first two, the next guy play the next two, and you just kind of rotate back and forth.
You develop a Swayman-Allmark type of dynamic between the two.
And I think and it would even be better because I think Allmark wants out of Boston because he's not playing nearly as much as Swayman. So where that was the case initially, I think in general that's becoming Swayman's net. Allmark didn't play at the playoffs, but like a couple games got let out to dry in the games he did play. So he's just, I mean, which is why I'm a little icky on Allmark. That tells you a lot. He didn't play in the playoffs.
Right. That'd be the biggest thing I'd have to look at with Askarov, or the biggest thing I look at with any goalie that we have for Carolina. Consistency is one thing, but Carolina suppresses shots a whole lot. Carolina keeps the puck at the other end of the ice a whole lot. So as much as we need a consistent goaltender, what we need more than anything is a goalie who makes timely saves, who can sit there and be bored for 7.5 minutes before they face another shot and not let something in, whether it's a low percentage shot or a high danger chance. I think that's what you really need with a goalie, is someone who makes that unexpected save after not doing anything for 7.5 minutes. Is Askarov that guy? I don't know. I'd have to look into it because, like I said, I don't know a whole hell of a lot about goalies. I'd have to look at his metrics. I'd have to ask you, and I'd have to ask AB because you guys know way more about goalies than I do. So that's one thing I would defer to you on if you think Askarov is that timely save yet consistent type of goalie.
Askarov, you're grabbing Askarov. You're grabbing him because he's younger, and it's one of those things where you're like, okay, well, if Kochetkov doesn't work, maybe this other dart does. So it's that kind of move. Because Askarov hasn't played a lot in the NHL, and I don't think he had a great season last year in the minors. So it's just one of those things where it's a risky move. I don't know. My thing is, if a team that just desperately needs offense is the Islanders. I know everyone balks at his contract, but oh my goodness, Sorokin's such a good goalie.
He is.
Such a good goalie. I still think he's the best goalie in the Metropolitan Division, most consistent goalie in the Metropolitan Division. If you can somehow pry him away from the Islanders, and it just has to be a part of that. What you're losing in offense, you're gaining an ability to shut down the puck. Because Sorokin will come here in this system, and the dude will probably get like 10 plus shutouts this next season because he's just that would be good. Nice. He is just that good.
Yeah, and with any of those situations, whether you bring in Sorokin or Askarov to this team, it creates a competition dynamic between them and Kochetkov. So, you know, both parties involved are going to play their best. So that would be definitely something to look at. I mean, I'm not opposed to any of these moves. It's just something has to happen if we want. I know that they say that maybe we're entering a soft retool. You still want to keep the team competitive and get as far as you can in the playoffs so all these young guys coming up can get playoff experience. One of the reasons why Seth Jarvis is so good is he's had playoff experience from the get-go with his NHL career. So if we can stay competitive enough to at least make the playoffs and make decent second-round runs, that's going to help Blake, Nadeau, Trikazov if he comes up, whoever else, to learn playing what the second season is completely different, as they say. So, BG, appreciate you all both. Thank you. And we appreciate you because you do a lot of cool graphical stuff for us. I can't wait to show off the decals I have for my helmets. BTS says, sorry I was late. I was playing NHL 23. No problem, buddy. We were not planning on doing a stream tonight. It's just when I saw that Hronek contract, I'm like, well, shit, Skjei's gone. That's that.
I thought Skjei was gone before that. I would love him to come back, but
he's definitely fucking gone now. Like after seeing that set the market for him. See, that was the weird thing about it. It's like Skjei and Hronek have some similarities in their game, whereas when we were working on negotiating with Pesce last summer, you know, Damon Severson set the market for that, and Damon Severson and Brett Pesce are wildly different players.
So the only thing I'll say that it's something to think about that might mean that Skjei's not gone is Elliot Friedman had reported that Carolina had been poking around Hronek. So, and they would have known that that's kind of what he was looking for. So does that mean actually Skjei wants more? Or if Skjei wants that, I think they actually might be willing to do that. It might be the term that's the problem. I don't know, but right now we have 9 days, I believe, until the draft, which I think is going to be, I've predicted on our podcast, the most busy draft of the season. It's in Vegas. It's got to be a show, right? So I think it's going to be a pretty fun time. I think a lot of people are going to trade. I think after you get out of the top 3, anything's possible with those picks.
Yeah.
Don't be shocked if people move them.
I'm not opposed to us using a couple of our high ones to keep the team competitive now, because as we saw after the KK offer sheet, we traded down a bunch to reload our draft picks and then ultimately reload our prospect pool. I'm not opposed to doing that again, because like if we're going to go into this full on, not necessarily Moneyball tactics, but the whole analytically based, driven by numbers type of draft, where we tend to try to draft more players than what a lot of other teams do. A team will go into a draft and come out with 6 or 7 players, whereas we come out with 9. I'm fine with that. Like, if we're going to embrace that, let's embrace it, but let's also use that first and second round picks to keep the team competitive now.
And I'll also say this, just that point there, I think just goes to prove further point that this team puts analytics at number 1, and it's not even close. Griff says it's a piece of the puzzle. Yes, it is the biggest piece of the puzzle for them. I think that's dangerous. I think it could come back and bite you in the butt, because it gets you a lot of Martins, not a lot of Jeff Skinners, for example. So, value skill. It's okay to value skill sometimes over defense, over analytics. Again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics. If you want to be only statistically minded, that's fine. When you have to go out of your way to say that's not the biggest part of anything, okay. You know what? That makes me think it probably is, and you know it, and you're trying to dispel the rumors because, it pisses people off, and that the statistically better players like Jordan Stahl, again, who should have scored the most goals in the playoffs? Jordan Stahl. That's what the statistics would tell you, right? He got the most
his
chances.
was the highest.
He had the most chances. Guess who actually probably scored the most goals? Probably it's Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl. You're skilled guys. You're never going to get a McDavid or Draisaitl, but that's just an example. And almost everybody had more goals than Jordan Stahl. So it's okay to value skill over the analytical guy. You're not going to win a Stanley Cup if you only do that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like I think they do, to a great degree, do value the eye test and everything. Otherwise, I don't think we would have tried to get Elias Pettersson, because if we gotten him, bro, like,
Aho Pettersson, that would be
the most lethal one of the most lethal 1-2 combinations at center in the league. The only ones that I could think of off the top of my head that would be better than that are probably McDavid and Draisaitl and
Crosby Malkin.
A few years ago, I would say that, not now. Primarily because of the Malkin part, not necessarily the Crosby part. As much as I hate Sidney Crosby, I have to admit the dude is not showing his age.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Let's see. Like, I would say Eichel and Stone are up there kind of in the same way, because you have Eichel, who's very offensively minded and makes a lot of great transition plays, and then Mark Stone is really, really, really fucking good defensively.
When he's not nursing a broken pinky toe on IR.
Yeah, so that's the only thing I don't like about him, because I remember when when Dallas was going through the handshake line with him, you know how guys, when they know each other, they'll kind of, and everything, and dap each other up and all that. Everyone was like, "Hi, yeah. They were just like, yeah, good game." I didn't go through little league lines that fast when I was a kid, as they did past Mark Stone. They did not want to fuck with him. I would say, let's see, other good 1-2 center punch. Like, that's a tough one, but Pettersson and Lindholm looked like they were going to be a really good 1-2 center punch. I mean, for the most part, they were. But like you said, Thatcher Demko getting hurt really, that might have changed history for them. It really, really did. Let's see.
It's unfortunate, too.
It is. How do you feel about the Ducks' new uni? I like the logo. The colors are horrendous. I think that they should have stuck with the black pants, because I feel like it's just way too much orangish red or whatever the hell that's supposed to be. The logo itself is really damn cool. The template, no, I don't care for that part. Score prediction for tonight. I actually don't really have one, because I haven't watched a whole lot of the Stanley Cup Finals. I just really haven't. I mean, I was watching a lot of college baseball until today, because Tar Heels are out now. And the Braves are finally starting to play like they know what they're doing. And as I say that, the lead just got cut in half between them and the Detroit Tigers. 6-3 Florida. Is it still 1-0 Edmonton right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Florida still wins. I think they win it like 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
Something low.
No doubt, just a matter of when. Yeah, if Edmonton manages to come back, it didn't happen because of depth. It didn't happen because of goaltending. It's because McDavid and or Draisaitl hit that extra gear that they had to find to make this series longer. It will be solely on them at that point. If the Conn Smythe does not go to Connor McDavid, I'll be like, yo, what the fuck? I don't think he should just arbitrarily get it because of who he is.
No.
But if he actually manages to extend the series out to 6 games and he does it with a bunch of 4 or extend it out to 7 games and does it with a bunch of 4-point games, in addition to everything he did in the playoffs before that, even if they lose, I say go ahead and let him have it. That being said, minus the last game, Bobrovsky has been remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, as long as Bobrovsky doesn't have repeats of that, he should get it. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he will. Like, if Edmonton wins tonight, they're not going to score 8, maybe 3.
Yeah.
But Bobrovsky was pretty light on the bench after even getting pulled.
Yeah.
They were just all business. That team was all business.
Mm-hmm. Well, things seem quiet. FA, or I think he means quiet FA, and even trade talks. I fully expect Tulsky and Co to be creative and make a deal or two, even that no one sees coming. I mean, that's happened before. I mean, I know that was the Waddell era, but like the Trocheck and Skjei trades, I didn't see those coming. I didn't think that they would go out and get Sammy Vatanen to replace Dougie Hamilton when he got hurt in 2020. So, I mean, that's happened before. The Domi trade, I actually didn't really see that one coming, but it also didn't surprise me. Gensel, when I saw we were in on him, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure we'll make a bid to get him, but if we get outbid, we're not going to raise our hand again. And then they went all in and they got him. And then the Kuznetsov trade, I was really happy about that because that was a low risk, high reward transaction. And I know people are saying, oh, trade Kuznetsov, he ain't going nowhere. Like, that's another guy that we can't afford to give up if we want to replicate some of our offense. Like, let's see. I wonder how different things would be if we got Tkachuk. That's almost a semi-daily talk that we have is, what if we got Tkachuk? What if we got Pettersson? What if we keep Gensel? Which, I'm sure that's still on the table. And I haven't given up all hope on Jake staying. I think that part of it is putting stuff out there in the open so that way it can be like, hey, you don't want me to hit free agency, do you? By the way, this for 8 years. Let's see. Ben and Andrews, haven't seen you in a while, buddy. Hope you're doing good. Should not move Kuzi. No, I don't want Kuznetsov moved. Kuznetsov fills that middle 6 center type of role that's more towards the second line center side. And people forget Stanley Cup run Kuznetsov was actually an excellent player in all 3 zones. He was on the penalty kill. He did a little bit of everything. Had Alex Ovechkin not been there, Evgeny Kuznetsov would have had the Conn Smythe that season. I legitimately believe that.
And if Kuzi's moved, it's a Rob thing.
Yeah, which I don't think that I still don't agree with him getting benched. It would be a mistake, but I don't agree with him getting benched for Maxime Comtois. And then they did, like I said, I love Rod. I'm glad he's still here. I've agreed with most of his decisions, but the ones that have been glaringly bad, like the Maxime Comtois one, I didn't understand that one. And then that line didn't even see the ice in overtime, and it might have cost us that game and ultimately the series. So let's see what else we got here. BTS, not the band, or at BTS, not the band. BG says Oilers threw their punch. IMO. That's the only one they have in them tonight. Florida finishes the deal. I'd be very surprised if Florida doesn't finish it tonight.
It would also, just as an FYI for everyone listening and watching, it also will start the clock 48 hours from tonight. If the Florida Panthers finish it, buyout window opens. So keep eyes on KK. Keep eyes on some other players who will potentially be available after the cup closes.
That's part of the reason I wanted to have the stream tonight. And since we were talking about, Skinner maybe getting bought out, I don't see anybody. Okay, out of all the guys in the league I see getting bought out right now, potentially, KK, Skinner, Barclay Goodrow. That's about it. That's all I can think of off the top of my head as far as guys who would get bought out.
Skinner gets bought out. What is that? 4.5 over 6 years. That's stuck on your cap. I mean, dude, just take 50% and suck it up for 3 more seasons.
Yeah. Well, that's why if I said we could trade KK and just retain $800K, I'd rather do that than buy him out. But I'm also not 100% ready to give up on him because, like I said on X earlier, it's not like the kid's out there doing Pierre-Luc Dubois cosplay or anything. Like he's playing his ass off. It's just bad luck snowballed on him, and he can't hit a fucking soccer net. And it's not like he's not trying. And it's just every time he misses the net, every time he hits the post, every time someone makes a big save on him, or like what I think should have totally killed his confidence, but it didn't, was when Varlamov stopped that one with the butt end of his stick in overtime against the Islanders in Game 4. That was the most high percentage, high danger chance that someone can generate, and he got beaten in the most low probability way. That is the most low probability way that a goalie makes a save, is with the butt end of their stick. And that's what happened to him in that situation. It was literally perfect storm for him. Unstoppable force hits a movable object in least likely way possible. So, like, that's why I'm reluctant to give up on him. I still see that solid middle six center, but he's got some work to do. Oh, wait, sorry, I got to go back to this one. Ehlers is a guy who fits perfectly, and I think Rod quickly loves and trusts. Yeah, Ehlers would be a perfect fit here for this system. Ehlers, I think that, like, he's built in the same mold as a player like Martinook, but he has a little bit more production, but not as much as Jarvis. So, like, if I put that type of player in there, that high-effort type of player who produces, he falls in between Martinook and Jarvis. So you have someone who's intermediary between their skill sets and their production. This has to be PK's net this year. If Freddie stays, he takes a back seat. Yep, that's what we were saying earlier. We need to know what we're getting with Kochekov. One of the terms that I like to use is overcooking or undercooking. If Kochekov, if we don't find out what we have with him this year, he's undercooked. And by next season, it's either going to be maybe he wants to go somewhere else, or we've totally, like, just stunted his development. Like, you know what you're getting with Freddie Anderson to a great degree. Ronta's probably going to retire. But if we want to know what we're getting, and you know what? Spencer Martin is a third-string goalie that sits in the AHL until you need him. The one question mark we have in net right now, as far as people who will play for the Hurricanes, is Kochekov. So we need to figure that out now. And then later on down the line, you can find out what you have with guys like, damn it, the one playing for the Norfolk Admirals. His name just slipped my mind, that was playing with Quinnipiac last season. Damn it. We called him up for a little bit. I can't believe I forgot his name. Shit. Yaniv Peretz.
Yeah.
Took me a second to remember. Yeah, but it's going to be a while before you know what you really got with Yaniv Peretz. I think he's definitely got some 1B potential there, but it takes forever to develop goalies, and then the window to find out what you have with them is very narrow. That's what I'm saying. Like, we need to find out what we got with Kochekov now. Kuzi is also cheap too. Half retained. Sign me up for another year. Yeah, I like Kuzi. We were missing that guy who. There's two players on this team this past season who were consistently making clean one-man entries. Evgeny Kuznetsov and Tony DeAngelo. That's it. And Tony had to walk it all the way from the other zone to do it a lot of times. I'll throw Gensel in there too. I'll throw Jarvis in there too. But for the most part, as far as you take the puck and make sure you go in onside, Evgeny Kuznetsov is the best guy on this team, at least among the forwards, to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Ben and Andrews also says, yeah, I think him with a fully healthy and mentally focused offseason, he really pops us for us next season. If you're referring to Kuznetsov, I believe that. And the cool thing is we saw a picture of him the other day in the gym working out and doing all the stuff he needs to do and everything like that. He was actually up here the other day. I guess he was getting his stuff out of storage. That's what, my friend told me that works at MedStar. Let's see. I don't know if you know what official is spelled wrong in the title. Yep, I typed that way too quick. I will fix that retroactively. Thank you for letting me know that. Actually, can I edit it right now? Yeah, I can. Thank you. Go ahead and talk about whatever you want, Sam, while I correct my...
I don't really... But I mean, it's really just a matter of you got to replace some of the offense. Mm-hmm. And don't balk at Skinner or Line A if you don't have a better idea. Mm-hmm. And it's not because there's just not a lot of better ideas out there. And that's also an unfortunate. You might not like Line A. You might not like Skinner. Well, I defy you to go find me another option. Ehlers, okay. It's fine. That's a trade. Lindholm, okay. It's still, it's not just one of these guys that's going to solve your problems. Lindholm solves your center. Awesome. Well, now you still need to go find some of those goals because Lindholm's not a goal scorer. Lindholm's the guy that's going to dish the puck. Okay, well, now you got to surround Aho and Lindholm with guys who are going to put the puck in the net. All right, you got Svetch, you got Jarvis. Well, you still need 2 more because not Tays, but Teravainen is not here next year, probably. Natchez is probably not here next year, probably. So you still need 2 more wingers. So that leaves Jeff Skinner is a solid option. Patrick Laine, solid option. Nikolai Ehlers, solid option. There are options. Some are better than others. I think Skinner is probably the second best option of those 3. I think it's Ehlers, Skinner, and then Laine. If I were to rank them. But if you look at the roster and look who's up, a lot of goals that are gone. A lot of goals that are gone after this season.
And if we want to have the money opened up, if we can find a way to move KK out to bring in, say, here's one thing I would do. Forgive me if I talked about this earlier on the stream. I know I've talked about it with you guys before. If I could send KK to San Jose and get Mario Ferraro back in a 1-for-1 deal where maybe we retain $800,000, I do it because we still save money because his cap hit I think is only 2.5.
At that point, you just buy him out. I don't know unless you can get Ferraro back.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you bring Ferraro back because he's someone I think would be a good long-term fit with the Canes for cheap because Carolina loves shot suppression, and that's Mario Ferraro's primary thing is blocking shots. Like, that's the thing that, like, he's one of the best in the league at doing that. Yeah. So I think that you bring him in, and then you have Tony DeAngelo with him, and, people want Morrow to make the team, and I do too, but we don't know that for sure. Not to mention, it's like, especially Rod. Rod is going to be reluctant to put a defenseman in and throw him to the Wolves early. A forward,
unless you're throwing him with Slavin.
Unless you're throwing him with Slavin. But are they going to break up Slavin and Burns? I don't think so. If they didn't break it up. They should, but will they? That's the problem.
Stubbornness. It goes to Rod's stubbornness. If you don't think that's a problem, watch the playoffs from this year. It was a problem this year.
Yeah. BG says Blake and Nadeau are raw, young, but can see them having an impact at some point. Follow both, and while young, they're mature, and young could surprise. Yes, that was something I also noticed about Scott Morrow. So there were times where the Hurricanes were interested in signing him prior to the end of this collegiate season. The biggest reason he didn't do it, according to the things I read, of which some of them he is quoted in, he felt like he wasn't ready yet. And with him playing in college where you're only playing 1 or 2 games a week, it's a good environment for you to take the time to go to the weight room and put on some size, which is the biggest thing he was worried about doing, and improving his skating so that he could quarterback the power play properly and all that type of stuff. So these kids, they definitely seem like they have good heads on their shoulders, and they're not in a rush to make it too early. So that's one good thing with it. Now, I think Morrow would heavily benefit from being with Jacob Slavin, but do you want Morrow pulling the type of minutes that Slavin pulls, and do you want him to be on the penalty kill with him right off the hop? I would say no. That's something you have to kind of ease into.
I'm probably going to have to jump off here in a minute.
Okay.
We got to pack.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're going on vacation. Yeah, I'm not doing that until 4th of July. We're going to Charleston. So
okay. I couldn't get the 4th off, so I was like, okay, well.
Go on vacation now since you can't go later. Yeah, no.
I get the day to get tomorrow off, so I just take 2 days, and then I get 5 straight off. So
yeah, then nice. 4th of July, we're gonna do that, and then like right after we get back from there, that's when they're gonna stick the rod in my nose and break it and make it normal. Because dude, it's like it sucks because I've only got 40% of my airway, and it's killing my ability to sleep. And
that's you're gonna be thrilled when that's over. You're gonna hate the procedure, but you're gonna be thrilled afterwards.
I'm gonna be asleep for it, and it's like I already told my girlfriend, I was like, I'm not really gonna be in much of a mood to chew anything, so just make me a bunch of San Francisco clam chowder, and I'll be fine. Chicken noodle soup and all that type of stuff, and she's gonna have to walk that menace to society over there.
Thanks from to BG too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see the. Thanks. I appreciate that. Pleasure as always. I will, if I can, I will tune in and watch the Sam bashing on Thursday.
No, we will do that, and of course we'll see you in the chat.
It's only fair. It's only fair. I had to get my licks in on Matt and AV too today. So.
Oh, I know. It's just I already know you'll go in the chat and be like, "That's not what I said. That's not what I said. You're twisting my words."
It's okay. It's okay. I understand.
Oh no, absolutely no. I think the team will be, like I said, I'm expecting a little bit of a step back this next season, maybe the one after, but we're never going to enter the dark ages that we had before. That's the one thing I'm grateful about.
Honestly, even if we miss the playoffs this year, I'm not going to throw a fit.
Yeah,
because we'll get a decent pick.
Mm-hmm.
Now it'll be mid-pack, but I mean, I'm not complaining about a decent pick unless they move it. I mean, at that point, yeah, that's a disaster. You move the pick and don't make the playoffs, but I don't think that would be the case.
I don't think that would be either. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on here, pal. You're always welcome anytime.
Have a good one, guys.
You too, buddy. Have fun on your trip. All righty. So we got that done. All right, who all's still in here? Oh, we still got a few eyeballs in here. Yeah, I am. So just some channel news and stuff real quick while I'm thinking about it, and then I'm gonna get ready to call it a night here. I am finishing up my first video on Jacob Slavin. I'm planning on having the first in that series done this weekend. I haven't decided if it's going to be the whole series. I don't know if it's going to be 3 parts or 4 parts. Right now I'm leaning towards 4. The first part of that will be done this weekend, and I will finish editing it, and I hope to have it out right before July 1st when he is expected to sign. Anything less than $8 million for him, absolute steal. That would be great. It would make my day. I would be happier about that than when Aho took less than 10 even. I will also be putting stuff on the audio platforms, the podcasting platforms, stuff like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everything like that. So these episodes like this, if you guys can't catch them the night before, we'll be putting them on audio platforms. BTS, I'll get to that in a second. I saw that out of the corner of my eye. I'll be putting that on audio platforms because some of you asked to be able to listen to it on your commutes or while you're in the gym and everything like that. And I wasn't planning initially on doing audio only stuff, but now that I know that people are asking for it, I will. It won't be every single YouTube video. It'll be mostly the live streams and mostly the audio only stuff. Obviously, things like the analytical videos and everything like that won't be on there, but pre-game shows, post-game shows, season predictions, and audio from live streams, all that type of stuff will be on there. So, no, this is news to me. Justin Timberlake got arrested. Let me see. What the hell did he do? Oh. He got a DUI, but says he had 1 martini. Must have been one hell of a martini then. Can't wait to be able to listen while working. Good stuff, bro. Yeah, thank you. All right, so and then just some other stuff while I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I saw. Wow, that's insane, dude. He has that much money and he has to drive anywhere. Fuck that. I would never drive at all if I had that type of money. I'd be like, nah, fuck that. I'm taking an Uber everywhere. No, I'll have my own private driver with my own private car, and the only time that I would ever drive, I would, get that Titan Pro 4X back that I used to have and just take it out to the mountains and have fun with it and shit. And then I would just make somebody drive it back after I was done having fun, and I'd stretch out in the bed and go to sleep or something. Let's see. What else we got here? I'm getting a limo. Yeah, I mean, hell, he should own a fleet of limos with all the damn money he has. What the fuck? I'll be real with you guys. It's like I've made it abundantly clear that I'm an airplane nerd, and if you can't see the Top Gun poster and the 2 F-16 posters there, and if you could see all the model airplanes and stuff I had here, if I was rich, if I'd known I couldn't fly fighter jets because of my eyesight, if I'd known that, what I would have done if I could go back and do my life again, I would be an NHL player with 2 motives. 1, play hockey for a living, and 2, I would buy a fucking fighter jet when my career was over. I would get like a T-38 or a MiG-21, something that wouldn't break the bank. I would do something like that, and then I would just spend the rest of my life going around doing like charity air shows and shit after I was done playing hockey. Oh, and also I would own a NASCAR team. That would be the other thing I'd want to do. Let's see. Yeah, all right. So Justin Timberlake got arrested. Yeah, that was news to me. All righty. But yeah, so when I get my nose surgically broken, I will then probably take a few days off. I'm not going to be in much of a talking mood, but I will also sound different. Right now, I sound like Squidward from SpongeBob with a fishbowl on. That will not be a problem anymore because I'll actually be able to breathe and shit. Because if you can't tell, my nose is not straight, and now it's getting to the point where I can't fucking deal with it anymore. So I'm gonna get that fixed. I'm not gonna be able to play hockey for a couple of weeks when I just got to start playing again. And speaking of, I'm gonna do a review on the CCMF V1 fishbowl in a few days because I'm wearing a fishbowl now, at least until after the surgery's done. So let's see. I'm pulling a Taylor Swift and take a helicopter to the kitchen to my bedroom. Wait, did she actually do that? That's crazy. Holy shit. Let's see. Best of luck with that procedure. Sending my best for healing. Take care of you. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. No, it's not like a serious thing. It's just a septoplasty. It was like basically like they just straighten out the cartilage on the inside of my nose and, take all the nasty stuff out of my face and something with the turbinates or something. I don't remember exactly what it is. It's a bunch of medical mumbo jumbo. I'm like, yeah, just don't make me look any fucking worse than I already do, and I won't care. So, but yeah, I think that's going to be about it for me tonight, guys. There's not much else to discuss. However, Thursday night, I will be back here with Sam Wallace and Sam Wallace from Caniac Sessions, which is the other Sam, not the one you just saw. Griff from, I'm sorry, Sam Wallace from Caniac Report, who is different from Sam Driscoll, who you just saw. That is a different Sam, even though they are on the same podcast. Griff from Caniac Sessions and possibly AB from Caniac Sessions as well. And we will have a bunch of stuff to talk about. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's going to be something like really simple. Basically, they do that, and then I come home, I sleep a bunch for a couple of days, and then I can go back to work on Monday and everything. So it's like it's not that big of a deal. It'll be like life changing. I'll actually be able to get a good night's sleep for the first time in my life, apparently. Think you missed that comment about your place, but either way, glad you're settled in and looks good. Yes, thank you. If I did miss that, I'm very, very sorry. Oh, there it is. This new place, love the look. Have to get some BG stuff up. LOL. You know what? What's funny about that, buddy? When I'm done getting the decals on my helmets, they're actually going to be in the background. And when I get a better camera, I'm going to be able to, you'll be able to see them a lot better because eventually I'm going to get a DSLR camera. When I get enough donations to get one, because that's where I'm going to, all the money that I get to the Buy Me a Coffee goes back into the channel. The only way that I would ever not do that is if this became a full-time job for me, and I don't ever see that happening personally. But yeah, back there's going to be some more hooks on the wall with where I can mount those helmets at when I'm not using them, that'll have the decals on them that you're getting made and everything like that. So, or that you gave me the text and stuff to get made and everything like that. So that'll be part of the decorations as well. And I think that I'm going to get, so like I have that wooden sculpture back there. I think that I will do, oh, your dad does decals. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll definitely message you about that probably at some point in the near future. I might get a wood version of the logo you made for me, BG, the Warning Take logo, the one that you see here in the channel and on YouTube. I might get something like that made and throw that up in the background as well, like move the American flag one up and put that underneath it. So just for context of everything I do have back here. Hook on the door, I rotate through sweaters and whichever pair of gloves I want to hang up there as far as the ones that I don't actually play in. The top poster there to the right of the door is a Navy F-16, which is called the TF-16N. Or I'm sorry, it's the regular F-16N because it's one seat, and that's what they use for like training other pilots and dogfighting and everything like that, to put it simply. Below the other one, you can't really see it because the microphone boom is a sketch of an F-16 I got at the Air and Space Museum in Dulles, Virginia. Top Gun poster, American flag with the Kane's Warning flag logo on it. And what's really cool, the thing underneath that is the original Fayetteville Fire Ants SPHL team. That's all their signatures. It's actually two of the guys on that license plate there are actually no longer with us, unfortunately. So it was really cool to have their signatures on it. And then a limited edition print Stadium Series poster right there that I had to get because the guy wearing the Kane sweater in it had the number 21 on it, which is my number. And then over here, you can't see it. There's a poster of a Mazda 787B. And I'm not really an F1 guy, but there's something my dad gave me that he came into possession of that's like a little F1 cardboard cutout that's all over there. There's going to be even more stuff that gets put up here as time goes on and everything like that. But the studio is pretty much done. I just got to go through those boxes there. I just haven't had the chance yet. Yes, I would gladly look at some pictures for that. Yes, please. And BG, honored to be part of it. You know, I got you. Yeah, absolutely, dude. You've been really big on helping this channel grow and everything like that. It's been a whole lot of fun knowing, like, one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to start this channel, I didn't just want to like sit here and hear myself talking shit, even though like that's what some people accuse me of. I wanted to make a community because I felt like that the Hurricanes hockey community as a whole is kind of underappreciated. You know, it's like every time I turn around, we're getting accused of some, you know, a lot of it's been the same old shit. Like, oh, Ma, you stole the team from Hartford. Well, I had nothing to do with that. I was 6 years old. I didn't put a fucking gun to Rutherford's head and be like, hey, move the team or else. Not Rutherford, excuse me, Cormanos. You know, now they're saying shit like we pump crowd noise at home games in PNC Arena. You know, whatever the fuck else they come up with. Aho tried to hurt Fox. Like, every time that I think that they recycle the same old garbage, they come up with some other stupid new thing. But all right, boys, I'm going to call it a night. I am really tired. I'm going to go watch what I'm assuming is going to be the last game of the NHL season. And I will see you guys later. Thank you for joining me. Y'all take care. I will see you next time.